Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Apocalypse Bringer, Mynoghra, Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're picking up where the last episode left off. We have Molter and Gia talking about how they're going to handle the whole Lord of Ruin situation, because Gia's kind of like, well, he didn't ask for anything in return, but Moltar's kind of like, well, no, like, obviously there's going to be a price to pay, so we have to see, like, what it is. Like, there's no way he just gave that for us for free, because it's also the situation of they don't want to get kicked out of the forest. Because they're like, yeah, if we get kicked out of here, because this is kind of our only refuge, we go out there, we're basically going to be back to being lambs to the slaughter. Like, we're going back to that persecution. So obviously, Takuto and Atu are talking about, like, okay, so they're on their way, and obviously he's not the best at communication, but she's like, right, I'll fill that role, because that way it lends itself to you being, like, you know, this kingly person doesn't have to fully talk for himself, so it's like, you trust me to do that, right? And she's like, he's like, of course, like, you're the best, like, I understand that you'll do right by this situation. So they came there, and initially it's kind of the situation of, let's okay, you got your food, it's all good, keep it moving. It's like, all right. And I love, once again, Atu, God, I keep saying her name wrong every time. Atu being such a major Takuto fan, where she hypes him up like crazy, where she even talks about it later on, like, oh my God, the amazing food he made. But specifically, she's like, I'm a major fan of the grapes. It's like, he's everything I just talked about before. It's 100% him. He's so great. Can't you see how blessed you are to be in his presence or under his leadership or under his kingdom? And it's just like, hey, you're lying, like, yo, like, this is the pressure's making my stomach hurt now and stuff. But it's like, she's his number one fan, and I love that how she hypes him up like no one else would, and it's really adorable. I commented on that last episode, but I comment on it even more this episode too. But either way, initially, like, Takuto and Atu are like, we don't want anything, cool, just take your people and leave. But the problem is, like, they are so, like, and Takuto picks it up too. He's like, all right, because of our evil alignment, they're just assuming there's no way so, right, it actually works out better if we act like we do want something in the end, like that this is a bit of an equivalent exchange. So it's like, okay, so as long as you give us information about the outside, you know, parameters of this accursed lands and stuff like that, then we're good. You can take your people and leave. But Gia's not too much of a fan of that, and Takuto kind of like sees that look, and he's also kind of concerned. He's like, should we really be throwing them essentially to the wolves again? Like, is that the best option here? But then he talks to Atu, and she's just like, really? Like, should we really even be doing that? I love that they're having, like, it's hard to say because it seems like they can communicate telepathically. So some of those scenes where it's kind of them being goofy, it's hard to say because, like, most likely, like, Moltar and Gia have their heads down, so maybe they're not seeing that, or maybe that's supposed to be like, no, they're having, even though we saw them depict what it looks like when they have conversations telepathically, I'm curious if it's supposed to be implied, like, that's a very, like, that is how that whole thing works, or is it just, hey, their heads are down, they're not seeing all of this, like the wacky, like, reactions and stuff. So the immediate thought that they have conversation wise is, oh, well, why don't we use the refugee system to kind of bring all the people in, because it benefits us in the long run, because it's like the only natural citizens that will exist of Mynoghra are homunculi, and, well, they're not the best conversation-wise, and also their appearance, you know, even Atu is like, yeah, it kind of wears down on your mind, like, having to look at them. So it's like, yeah, it benefits us in a lot of ways, and we can, because they're not, the Dark Elves are not alignment-wise, they're not good nor bad, they're just kind of in the middle, and it's like, I thought last episode they said they were, like, neutrally evil, but whatever the case may be, it's like, yeah, like, once they join our alignment, it'll be good, and we'll be able to utilize them, and it fills out our ranks and citizenships more, so it benefits us to kind of bring them into the fold. And it's like, oh, that means you're gonna join us, and, you know, you're gonna but basically know that you're gonna be evil beings. But Atu puts on a devilish smile. It's like, but you'll have a lot more fun on our side when you make that choice. So they really didn't have much of a choice in this situation. So they kind of have to just accept it. And I can't remember if this bit happens before or like later or like around the same point, but I think it happens beforehand because they get a map from Moltaire, and Takuto starts rolling around on the ground kind of having a fit because he's like, yo, we have the worst starting position because where they're located, the Cursed Forest land, is not too far off from two large empires, both aligned on the good side of things. So that's the human kingdom and the elf kingdom, which we know like the dark elves are having a complicated relationship with like the regular elves and humans. So it's like, yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm sure like there's other kingdoms that probably have beef with them too, but it's like they're both kingdoms of good, you're a kingdom of evil. So it's like, cool, we're not in a powerful enough position, we don't have the defenses necessary. And then the moment Atu finds this out, she starts rolling around, flipping out too. I'm like, I love that you both are like, you know, two sides of the same coin. Once again, it's adorable how like, but I mean, understandable. It's like this, it's like the worst RNG ever because you're just like, we started off in the worst position, you know, against literally the worst enemies. Like if we were in a place where like there was some neutrality or maybe like some of the people were evil, but it's like, no, we just happen to be by two massive kingdoms of on the good side of alignment. So it's like, oh man, that kind of plays into the conversations later about them kind of bolstering kind of sort of their defenses and stuff and what they're planning to go for. But either way, they go through the whole ceremony of like, right, Takuto walks, you know, with Atu in front of the other dark elves, and it's like, right, the whole system happens, and now like they've become refugees or citizens now of Mynoghra, and it becomes a situation of like the moment, like, because initially Gia's like, not much has changed, but then he's consumed by the hatred. Him and every other one of the dark elves feel it. They're thinking about the terrible things that they've been through, and then they're all cheering afterwards. Where it's like, yeah, like our king, you know, Ira or Takuto, like, yeah, we'll serve you, we're proud to be your citizens type of situation. Some of them are like tearful. It's actually really beautiful, and it's just kind of like, oh, it's just funny that it's like, yeah, Evo type of situation. I don't know, there's something interesting about that. But later on, Atu and Takuto are meeting with Moltaire, Gia, and Emo, like, what, I forgot how you pronounce her name, but she's kind of like, we never fully aligned with what her job position is going to be, because basically you have Moltaire basically is going to be in charge of like state of affairs because he's the magic person he is, and then Gia will be the head of the warriors, and it's like, oh, I get it, we'll slaughter our enemies and basically put them on pikes in front of you. And Takuto's like, ew, no, we you know, wars for barbarians. And then he's just like, what kind of evil lord is a pacifist, you know? And just, he gets like his mind melded a couple of times where he's like, wait, you're supposed to be an evil lord, why are you acting like this? Why are you so like, why are you not like the whole warmongering, ready for like blood and death that, you know, you're supposed to, she literally introduced you as the king of ruins, and they know you as that too, and it's like, you're not all about war. It's like, no, let's bolster our defenses and kind of keep to ourselves. We can bolster our defenses without having to actively like be out to attack, but be able to defend ourselves. But I also love that Moltaire kept looking at him and be like, oh, all you have is brawn, I have the brains, and it's just kind of rubbing in his face like, ha ha ha, I'm getting all the brownie points while you suck. I'm like, I love that. And he's like, well, this guy, I'm young and virile, but this guy, like, the fact is it turned into a little bit of a competition between them. It's just hilarious. And even Takuto's like, should we really let that kind of like blossom like that? But you know, I guess it has its benefits. But yeah, they bring up the whole like, well, they kind of do a little world building where they explain that technically this world that they're living in isn't where, like, they start bringing up like different systems kind of game wise, and it's like, okay, so technologically they're not here yet, which means they're kind of a little further behind than what we thought, but that benefits us because it's like, if we put in the effort, that means we could outclass anyone else technologically, because it's not just the dark elves, the world in general doesn't have these certain technology. So it's like, okay, if we can get to this point, then we could, like for example, they didn't know about reforesting. It's like, right, let's cut down the trees and stuff like that and make homes, which, benefits the dark elves because they do the same thing. But it's like, there's also the element of reforesting and just kind of replenishing the resources of the trees and stuff. So that's not really something that's really known in this world. And this is where you get Atu being like, yep, that's something our king came up with. Isn't he great? Isn't he amazing? But also, what's the name? Like I said, I'm blanking on her name, but the other dark elf, she's the one that says like, oh, like I like some of those grapes, those purple fruits, right? Well, we planted some of those seeds and they're actually sprouting. It's like, really? This quickly? And then it's like, oh, and Takuto pieces it together. He's like, okay, so because I made them from like, because I know them because of my own world, and so it makes it so they sprout a little quicker because they're not like natural born to this world. Like he's making them from his memory of all the constitution of what would be in a grape in our world. So for him, it's like, what was it? Emergency production, I believe is the ability. It's like as long as he's familiar enough with something, he can make it. And it's like, cool, it's a broken ability. Granted, like, I think depending on where the technology is and stuff like that, like the harder essentially it makes, the more of a drain it is going to be on his mana resources. So he's like, cool, I'll be able to give us all the resources we need, whether it's like oil or this or that, so I'm able to make that. And it's like, yeah, like you pointing that out actually gives us a leg up, made us realize something we didn't realize before. So, but like I said, we didn't really find out what role she would play, but I don't, because she's a very smart person, so she's probably going to handle a lot of like the information. That's probably going to be like her role going forward. But yeah, we're just still setting the stage about the full birth of this kingdom. But then our post-credit singer is, I don't know if she's the leader of the human kingdom or more like because she seems like she's dressed like a holy person, so it might be like a head church figure because she's in the intro. And I think the other character that's like that fiery character in the intro must be like the leader of the elf kingdom or something like that, if she's potentially the leader of the human kingdom. But yeah, she feels a disturbance and she's like, right, we kind of got to investigate that. So kind of puts them in a very complicated position because now she's not fully aware, but she knows something's off and they need to investigate it. So it's only a matter of time before the human kingdom becomes fully aware of the kingdom of Mynoghra, but then also, once again, you got to worry about the elves potentially finding that out as well. So, and then there's going to be more fuel to the fire with like, oh, their citizens are dark elves, so that's probably going to add more fuel to it. But yeah, it's definitely going to be like we get the first steps of planting seeds and obviously them getting ready to construct homes and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see where this progress takes us next episode, how much time will pass, how much they will have progress with like fortifying stuff and growing stuff. Also, I forgot to talk about it. It kept rumbling through my mind, but I figured I'd bring it up. Even though they now serve him, it does still seem like they see Takuto still in that shadow form. So it seems like, I guess just for the sake of this story, Atu is the only one who sees Takuto for what he really looks like. Because that was kind of my big question. Like, oh, once they serve him, will they see what he really looks like? It's like, no. Because, like, the moment you try to look at him, but I guess that was before he became their lord. Like, maybe, but it's kind of like, oh, it's very painful to look up at him. But I guess maybe now that he's their lord, they can look at him in the eyes without much issue. But I guess it's almost like if you try to, I guess it's almost like Supernatural where it's like you can't perceive an angel's true form because it will literally kill you with trying to do that. So I wonder if it's a similar situation where it's like you can't see his true form or try to perceive it because it'll hurt you in the process. I don't know, just thought that was interesting. Maybe that's just how he will forever be viewed. Because, to be fair, he's supposed to be like the king of ruin and its evil lord, so it kind of makes sense. You don't really see him for what he really is, but it is funny when you see that form, how other people perceive him, and then you see like his facial expressions kind of having like these kind of cute facial expressions. It's just interesting. But yeah, I burned out my mouth off long enough. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.